Good afternoon, YouTube. Let's take a shooting question. It's always nice to take a shooting question. Hey, Ben, I took your class in April. Still trying to put learnings into practice. Doing lots of single shot returns and doubles to establish the grip pressure that gives me repeatable dot tracking in a straight line up and down during recoil. Two questions. As you do doubles at different distances, are you focused on different aspects of fundamentals, or is it just that mistakes are amplified and easier to recognize at distance? Secondly, any tips on bringing live fire learnings on grip fundamentals back to dry fire? I feel like I'm starting over on each live fire session. Thanks. Great. Okay. Now, this is a pretty good series of questions. It's not really just one question, but a series of questions, and I'll get them like this from a lot of guys that they kind of go down the rabbit hole. They start nerding out. They're like watching all the stuff on YouTube. They do a class, and then they kind of get some concepts for what they want to do for training, and then they proceed to training. Usually one of the first things that guys nerd out on is the grip, and then the drill that's most closely associated with that is doubles. So this guy mentioned a couple of drills. I just want to make sure I describe them quick so we'll have a frame of reference. So one drill is one shot return where I aim my gun at a spot, add a stimulus or a buzzer. I'll fire around, boom, the gun goes up in recoil, and the exercise is to return the gun right back down to that spot. We don't assess where the bullet goes. Don't give a shit about that part. It's just, gripping, connecting to the pistol, looking where you want the gun to return to, not at the sight. Boom, gun goes off, return it right back down. So that's a good exercise to experience, to get a feel for what good recoil control is going to be like. And then it gives you some good indicators. Like if I see my sight slash down below the aiming reference I have, I mean, like, oh, that's too much input. If the sight's slow coming back, it'll be like, okay, I need some visual aggression here. I need to stare right where I want the gun to go or put in more input to return it, whatever. The other drill he mentioned is doubles, where I'll draw the pistol from the holster, index it on a spot on the target, then go boom, boom, fire 2 rounds, let the gun settle down, boom, boom, again, boom, 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 for a total of 4 pairs. And you want it to be, you want a bunch of things to happen, but we'll have a consistent grip and connection to the pistol and a visual connection to the target. And I'll be like firing those rapid fire pairs and see what changes during that. Typically, people's dominant hand tenses up and they start putting in too much input. It's kind of fed into by people losing support hand connection. And then, of course, you need to maintain a visual connection to the target. And if you don't do that, you have a problem. All right. So that's the stuff that this guy's working on. All right. And what I found is that working on this stuff, it tends to be like, as much as you want to talk about it, you can just keep talking about it. It's this endless rabbit hole that you can go down, and you can be as nuanced as you want to be. I'll have guys email me like, oh, Ben, like how much pressure should I have on my like ring finger down here? Like should it, if I try to get it right in between the tension of my pinky and my middle finger, it's like, that's really, I mean, people will take this. You'd be amazed how far people will take it. And this does sound like a case of what's happening with this guy. So first, he says, as you do doubles at different distances, are you focused on different aspects of fundamentals, or is it that mistakes are amplified and easier to recognize at distance? I think, well, it's a little bit both of those things. Of course, shooting the same drill at more distance, it's going to give you a better sense of how it breaks down. But I also find that your focal points are going to change a little bit. So, for example, if I'm shooting doubles from the 5-yard line, my emphasis is on keeping relaxed just so I can run the gun as hard as possible. Right? I just want to keep my hand unclamped, so like bop, 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 so I can really run the gun. And I'll emphasize getting acclimated to the recoil and getting really comfortable. Right? So it's like I just get comfortable shooting the gun that fast is one way to think about it. As things start to change, the visual presentation of the target changes around 15 or 20 yards, depending on the gun I'm using. My sight starts to leave the target and then return in the middle of firing pairs on it, which that can change people's behavior a lot. And I try to have the sight leave the target and come back with me just staying target focused on the center of the target and trusting that the sight's going to come back. In a sense, you could say my focus changes. So, there you go. Answer to that part of the question. In a sense, yes, it does change. Secondly, any tips on bringing live fire learnings on grip fundamentals back to dry fire? And to me, this is the key part of the whole question. It's the key right here. Now, why would I say that? Okay, so what I tell people, or the way I'll kind of describe dry practice, is like dry fire practice is your practice. That's where you're going to put in all the reps and do the training, right? You can conceptualize live fire practice as just you go out and shoot and just kind of experience it. Just see how it feels, see what's good, what's bad. You're not so much needing to hit certain metrics or, like, oh, I got to get my grip this way or whatever. I mean, the way I look at it is go do live fire training, do it aggressively, really challenge yourself, but you're testing your training. You're testing your dry fire to see how that breaks down. So to me, like, this is telling me that your approach to the live fire is the opposite to what I'm saying, right? The live fire is where you're trying to perform, to a certain level, and then you're kind of messing around in dry fire. And I would flip that relationship around, where when I go out live fire, I just do the drill, not so much trying to hit certain numbers, right? Just experience what happens, and that's going to tell you the whole story. If you're like, oh, I keep tensing up my dominant hand and trigger freezing, well, I'm going to take that back to dry fire and be like, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger super aggressive. Make sure my finger comes all the way off it so it will reset, and then press it hard. So I'll do my dry fire like this really aggressively, and I'm going to train that way for a week or two, and I'm just not going to trigger freeze anymore, for example. Or let's say your left hand, you detect during the live fire that it's kind of slipping forward and slipping off the pistol, and you're not maintaining a connection. Well, that's your focus point on fixing that thing over the course of the next week. So yeah, I would suspect, just again, based on a lot of experience doing this, the shooter that's asking this question, he's very wrapped up in metrics, in specific numbers and measurements of his performance, and he's getting the numbers he likes dry fire, and he's not getting numbers he likes live fire, and he's kind of looking at it like, well, how do I make this work? And instead, I would ignore the fact that you're getting the numbers you want dry fire. Don't worry about that. Instead, look at what's actually happening with the live fire, okay, and then you train those concepts with the dry fire, rather than being metric or performance oriented during your dry fire. Anyway, hope you guys find it helpful. If you have any other questions or comments, put them right down below.